Okay, so after we've built our breakdown, we're going to create our second build-up. So what I'm going to do is just extend this out for another 16 bars, so it's the exact same length as our first build-up at the start. And for this build-up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the ARPs over to play for the second half. Actually, no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag them out to play for the whole entirety of this build-up. But I'm going to use an effect very similar to what we've done here using a filter. And I'm just going to drag the filter onto this ARPS track. Sorry, actually got to click it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to automate these ARPs to come in over time. So as you can see with the automation line at the moment, it's at the very top because this is turned all the way to the top. Likewise, if I turn this down to the bottom, it's going to be, the line will go all the way down to the bottom. So I'm just going to crank that up. But what I'm going to do is in one of these silent sections where nothing's playing, is I'm going to bring the arpeggio down to basically down to down to 435 hertz. So about 1/3, because when it starts to play again, we want to hear some of it. If you bring it too far down, you don't actually hear the arpeggio over the chords up the top. So I'm just going to bring it up to about halfway or to 1/3, somewhere in between there, and build it up over time. So let's just have a listen to this section now with the arpeggio, and let's make sure you can hear it right from the start. Cool, so that arpeggio is going to build in throughout the next build up. So I reckon that's a pretty cool effect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the bass from the last build up and bring it in to start halfway. I'm also just going to use both the melodies, the two melodies, so the layered melodies throughout this section, and yeah, just kind of use both of them in this build up. So I'll just copy and paste this across. And just remember that we made our last build-up finish a little bit earlier, and the reason for that is it finishes in time with the clap build-up. I'll explain that again in a second once I bring it across. But I'm just going to get these melodies in here. So our main melody, and make it finish a beat earlier, and bring in our clap build-up from this section. Again, if you've forgotten how to zoom in, this is probably another good time to explain it. If I move my mouse to the top over here, you can see a black box, and that's basically indicating what area of the screen the screen is actually representing. And if I drag up and down, click and drag up and down on here, it zooms in and out. So again, just a reminder on how to zoom in and out. I'm just going to grab these claps here. I'm just going to press Control C. So what I did then is clicked on the first one, held down Shift, and clicked on the last one, and that selected all of them. And then I pressed Control C, or right click and copy, and build those across. So copy those across to here and just paste them in. Again, so just explaining that we wanted everything to finish on this last clap. So I'm gonna have to bring my arpeggios back a beat as well. All right, and what we're going to do in this last little section as well, we're going to bring in our pitch riser. So just gonna copy that across. I'm just holding Control click or Option click if you're on a Mac. Make sure that finishes in time with that last clap. I'm also just going to check the envelope. Now, sometimes these can be a bit funny and start a little bit before. Well, basically, if it's not at 0 by the time this starts, it can sometimes make a popping sound. So I'm just going to bring it down to automate down just a little bit before the build-up starts. And I'm just going to make sure it hits its peak when everything else stops. And then likewise with our white noise, I'm going to just Option click and drag or Control click and drag, depending what computer you're on. Bring that back so it finishes in time with everything else. And again, it needs to finish on the 4th beat there. And it's going to check the automation. So I'm just going to reset this automation and make sure it builds up to this section. All right, and then we have a bit of another build-up that's going to build into the final drop of this piece. Let's just have a listen to it in full. We might start from the breakdown and then have a listen to the build-up in full. And there you have it. There's our second build-up. We've made it a little bit different by adding the arpeggiators to it and having the melody come in later. We've also got the breakdown before that kind of builds into it, that kind of adds a bit of suspense there. So yeah, that's a really cool method, I guess, to create another build-up that leads into our next drop. In the next video, we'll look at the final drop and finishing off the piece.